Good afternoon, everybody. A very warm welcome along to our last live CPD Microburst of 2023. This afternoon, we are going to be talking about a really interesting topic. I'm really looking forward to learning stuff about AI in the vet sector. And I am absolutely thrilled to bits that we are joined this afternoon by the co-founders of PetsApp. So a very warm welcome to Tom Jenkins and Will Monk. I'm sure everybody watching, listening will have come across PetsApp in our sector, but we're really excited to hear about some of the things that are new and how we can use AI for positive good, I think, in the vet sector would probably be a good way to put it. It's a topic that some people know a lot about, and some of us, and I fully admit, me included, know very, very little about. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from the experts. I'm not sure who's going to start. Who am I handing over to?
I'll take it from there, Hannah. Thank you
Tom?
very much for having us.
Thank you.
I think we should make clear, given that we are doing this in the veterinary sector, that here AI stands for artificial intelligence.
That's a good point.
There's a couple other things it could be I'm not qualified to talk about. So I'm Tom. I'm the co-founder and CEO of PetsApp. I'm a vet by training. Prior to PetsApp, I ran veterinary clinic groups internationally, and now with PetsApp we help just over 650 veterinary clinics with their client communication engagement. And we have just recently launched a tool called PetsApp Copilot, which brings AI, artificial intelligence, into the hands of veterinary professionals. So that's an introduction to me. I'll pass it over to Will.
Hey everybody, I'm Will. I'm the CTO and co-founder here at PetsApp. My background's in engineering. I've worked for companies the likes of the Trainline and Passport. I've done a bit of everything across various different sectors, and I'm a self-professed tech geek, and so AI has been something on my mind for the last few years now. So as Tom said, we've recently launched the PetsApp Copilot, which has just been really awesome to be able to bring this sort of technology, which feels very much outside of the reach of many people, to the teams that we're working with and have been working with for the last few years. So really excited to talk about this, and I think we've got some awesome stuff to show you. So I think we can crack on.
Sounds great.
Okie dokie. Right, I'm going to be directing the slides. So Tom, take it away.
So I think we should start by just being honest here. Technology hasn't always been terribly kind to veterinary practices. I'm a big tech fan, almost as big of a geek as Will, not quite Will. But before I became a vet, I did web development through my teens, and obviously now I run a software company. But technology hasn't always served us well in the veterinary professions. So first, they came for your pharmacy. First, they said, "Oh, don't worry about products. Products are commoditized. That you just can't compete with the online players, online pharmacies. They can sell stuff cheaper than you can buy it." And so we started giving that part of our business, the veterinary practices business, away. And then what happened? Well, next, they decided that they can upload pets to the cloud, right? And they can upload vets to the cloud. And they tried to convince themselves, these direct consumer digital disruptors, using technology to say, despite pets being very fundamentally physical beings with physical needs, they tried to disintermediate the physical locations, veterinary practices that were built to serve their needs. But the truth is, you can't upload your patients. You can't upload a pet to the cloud, no matter how much fluffy hair might look like one. And so this idea that we should use technology to its extreme, regardless of any other consideration, I think is not a safe way to go about implementing technology. As I've said, pets are fundamentally physical beings. If they have an issue, the best place for them, the best way for that to be served is by the local veterinary team. And the Veterinary Innovation Council in the US estimates that only 8% of all pet issues addressed by veterinary expertise. So we're already dealing with underserved healthcare consumers. The idea that we should bottleneck the way they get care just based on the advances in technology is not right. It's a tool. It's not a wholesale replacement for other ways of dispensing care. And now, so we've had the commoditization of products. We've had this attempt to upload Fluffy to the cloud. And now with artificial intelligence, there's this idea that we can actually commoditize veterinary expertise. And so all these big tech companies, all these big platforms are trying to suck in data in a way that they can actually replace expertise, any professional, including veterinary professionals. And so the more data they can get on this stuff, the more they can inform those algorithms, and the better place they will be to displace veterinary professionals entirely from the pet care journey. But the truth remains that brick and mortar physical veterinary locations are the only businesses that can offer what our clients actually seek, which is a joined up online to offline pet care experience. They don't want to upload their pet to the cloud any more than you do. Right? They understand that when their pet needs to be seen, it should be physically seen, but they also want the convenience of, in the screenshot here, you being able to update them on their pet while the pet's in the hospital, maybe a little photo, and be able to do this asynchronously, not having to be bottlenecked via a telephone or an on-hold message or whatever it might be. So I think there are very real threats here to the veterinary practice business model. There is a risk, actually, that the direct consumer digital disruptors own all the high margin, profitable, valuable stuff. And the brick and mortar locations, the people that own the expense and cost of running a physical location, get left with the low margin stuff that no one else wants to do. That's one potential future here. That's why the fight back needs to start now. We need to start actively looking at ways to deploy technology safely in our clinical environments so that we can make sure the veterinary clinic, the local veterinary clinic, remains at the heart of the pet care journey. And we shouldn't pretend that this is all news to everyone, because as I said, 650 clinics are already offering joined up online to offline care through the PetsApp platform. So we have a lot of experience in implementing technology into practices in a way that is safe, does drive positive outcomes for patients, for clients, for the veterinary team, and for the business. So the question is, how do we do it? How do we not go too far with technology where we're actually leaving our patients, our clients, our teams behind, but how do we use it in a way that serves these various stakeholders? How do we face the challenge of competitors, direct consumer digital disruptors, and how do we embrace the opportunities to better serve the people for whom our clinic matters to them? Well, we should probably start by defining the term safely. We're talking about how to safely implement new technology in your practice. What do we mean by safely? Well, we can just use the dictionary definition in a way that gives protection from danger or risk, in a way that is not likely to cause or lead to harm or injury. And to me, there are two possible forms of harm and risk, at least two. We could go into more, but this is only a half an hour session. You'll be reassured to know. So the main forms that we want to cover off today are clinical safety. Is it going to be safe for our patients and for our clinicians? And also data and data privacy and data stewardship. So is it going to be safe in that regard?
So as Tom mentioned, data privacy and data safety is something that I think I'd imagine that all of you watching have had your own dealings with over the last few years, particularly since the GDPR was introduced. And so this is something that I'm sure everybody has been thinking about in practice. And so something to look out for when you're working with technology is what those technology providers actually have in place to ensure that data privacy and data security is front of mind for them. Here we've got the Cyber Essentials Plus mark, and this is actually it's a certification I really like. It's obviously when we're talking about things like GDPR and the other certifications that can be acquired, lots of them are around feeding the paper lion who just wants to eat all of these documents that you can show that you're doing X, Y, and Z things, and people keep them on their computer and then they don't really look at them again. Whereas Cyber Essentials Plus is an audited certification where you have demonstrable protocols in place that are tested to ensure that data security is front of mind for all of the individuals working in these businesses and the technology that is used in these businesses too. And you can tell that it's a really important and an actual robust set of credentials, because if you look at this quote here, which actually comes from gov.uk, since 2014, the government has required suppliers bidding for certain types of public contracts to hold Cyber Essentials or Cyber Essentials Plus certification. So this is a really a robust set of rules that you need to have in place. It's not just paperwork that you can tick off and forget about. This is things that you need to be constantly working on. So this is a mark that at PetSap we've acquired, and we've always put data privacy and data security front of mind. And so we are Cyber Essentials Plus certified, and I think it's something that you should look out for when you're dealing with new technology and how to safely implement that into your practice. The next side of things around this data privacy is around what is shared with the big tech companies and the AI that you're going to be using there. So when you're thinking about the messaging that you might be using with these AI products that come from the big tech, you need to be really conscious about what's being shared with them. When you're talking through things that may be sensitive from like a clinical perspective or from a data privacy perspective, you need to ensure that data that's being shared with these big data companies is actually protected in a way like we can see here. And so where we're working with these AI models, all of the data is actually stripped back for anything that could be personally identifiable. And so you could see a message like this, which is about Ziggy and Shadow and is sent from Erin, is actually replaced so that that data isn't shared and can't be picked up by these AI providers that are working outside of the vet sector and looking to disintermediate it. The next side of things to be conscious of is around prompt engineering. So as we said, like you've probably heard that Meta have been training their AI models with many billions of data points, all of the stuff that they can just scrape from the internet, everything that they can find to try and build as large and knowledgeable model as possible. But you are the people who have this data, this proprietary data, and you want to ensure that when you're using it, it's not being taken away from you and being used to train a model that is intended to disrupt the veterinary industry, disrupt the people at the heart of the community providing this care. So as you can see here, all of this would get just pulled into one of these, Meta's models, and it's going to get jumbled up, and everything that they can find around providing and disrupting veterinary care by trying to provide it themselves is going to get sucked into this model, and it's going to be there to try and displace you. So you need to ensure that when you are engineering your prompts and things that are going to be used with your AI models, that you're conscious around what's being shared there, and it's only the things that are relevant at the time of interacting with the AI, and that it's not going to be taken away from you. One of the like we talked about with these several billion parameters being used, they will suck as much of that data together, and then they will store it and know how it fits together. And that's one of the very interesting capabilities of these AI models, in the fact that they're very generic in the way that they solve problems. And so if they can take all of the data that the vet clinic has, which is very proprietary to those clinics, they will ingest it and they will use it at later points. And so one of the key things around the way that PetSap is working is that only the data relevant to the chat at the time is shared, and it's not used to actually improve these models. It's only there to improve the outcomes. Another thing around this, which kind of crosses both into the clinical safety as well as the data safety, is this idea of RAG. And so this is kind of getting a bit more into the weeds of how you can use AI. And so RAG stands for Retrieve, Augment, and Generate. So the really cool thing here is that you can see this message on the right hand side, and as an example, includes more interesting information about the chat at hand. So if this is somebody who is trying to schedule in some vaccinations, your retrieval is the bit that actually is able to get some more data about that pet, and so we can know a bit more about it. It augments with the prompt, and then it generates a message without giving away any of the specifics to that model, the AI that could be used at a later point. And so RAG is a really important thing to think about there, rather than letting these models be trained on your data that you can't really get back at a later point. And so, as Tom mentioned, we have some very exciting news here, breaking news about the launch of the PetsApp Copilot. Tom, what have you got to tell us more about that now?
Well, the way we've designed the Copilot is we put it in the hands of veterinary professionals. And so this is AI augmenting veterinary expertise, not replacing veterinary expertise. Is a tool to make patient advocacy easier and allow you to advocate for your patients more quickly and efficiently, and at times of your choosing. And so I think the best thing to do is to actually give a demonstration of how that works.
All
So as with any live demo, please cross your fingers for us. But this is the PetsApp dashboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start a chat and pretend to be a pet owner here. So maybe Tom, you can do some filler just while I send this message.
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is the PetsApp dashboard. If you're not familiar with it and you haven't seen it before, this is where veterinary professionals are using PetsApp on a desktop or laptop. You can also use it on a mobile device, but this is the desktop version. And so Will sent that chat in. He said, good morning. This, as a pet owner, has said, good morning. Ziggy has been itching today and I'd like some help. And you can see here's the option to take on this chat or hand off this chat to a colleague. The pet owner has also sent through a video of Ziggy itching. And so if Will takes this chat on, clicks assign to me, then you'll see this nice shiny sparkling button in the bottom right. That's the PetsApp Copilot button. And if you click this, what happens is a AI generated response is produced for you. So here we can see, in response to the good morning, Ziggy has been itching today and I'd like some help from the pet owner. In one quick click there, the PetsApp Copilot generated, I'm sorry to hear that, William. It looks like Ziggy is experiencing itching. Based on the video, it could be due to allergies, fleas, or dry skin. To provide some relief, you can try giving Ziggy a soothing bath with a hypoallergenic shampoo and make sure to rinse thoroughly. You can also apply a moisturizing pet-specific lotion to help with dry skin. If there are no signs of fleas, you may consider switching to a hypoallergenic diet or discussing antihistamines with us. If the itching persists or worsens, it would be best to schedule an appointment for a thorough examination. Would you like me to assist you in booking an appointment? And then it ends with this nice paw print emoji. Now, we'll talk about the strengths and limitations of this message. And Will has chosen to send that message as it is, but a veterinary professional could edit that message. And it's important to bear in mind that Copilot hasn't seen the video. It's seen the message and it gives what it said it deems to be an appropriate response, a very likely response, let's put it that way. And so the way we do this is, rather than putting pet owners in direct contact with the Copilot, because of limitations to AI that we're going on to discuss, we don't think that's a safe way to do it. But giving you a way to generate a message, if you've got writer's block or you're short on time, these messages can be super helpful. Now, there are things in that generated message that I would edit and I would take out, and that's fine. I wouldn't be saying give some lotion. I don't want them going into their bathroom cabinet and picking out whatever lotion they deem appropriate and rubbing it in. But that's fine, right? This is why we put it in your hands. And there's some good suggestions in there too, and some good context in there too, and some nice fluffy bits that when we're stretched and pushed for time, we don't get around to. So, that paw print emoji, This is actually replicating some behaviors that we've seen from the best chats that get the best feedback. A nice touch like that just adds a little bit to the interaction. And so the PetsApp Copilot has the time to do that when you might not.
Can we switch back to the slides now, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so we talked about data privacy and data stewardship and safety in that direction. And now you've seen PetsApp Copilot in action. You've seen AI in action. It got sent that message, sent that video, and it generated a complete response. And there are considerations that we should have in mind when we're using these tools. And one of those big considerations for clinical safety is that these AIs can hallucinate. Even PetsApp Copilot, it's been built with great expertise, great responsibility, but even that can hallucinate. Now, what do we mean by hallucinate? It means what it says, that they can kind of make up stuff that isn't there. And so this is an extract of a conversation I was having with ChatGPT, and I called ChatGPT out on a mistake that it made about a poison, actually. And ChatGPT, only once prompted that this was likely erroneous, said, "I apologize for the confusion. I've rechecked the information, and you're correct that there were inaccuracies." For inaccuracies, you should read, "I made stuff up." Right? And so it said, "I appreciate your patience, and I'm sorry for the early mistake. It's crucial to provide accurate information, particularly when discussing serious matters like poisoning." Yes, I would agree with that. I'm sure you would all too. "Thank you for prompting me to correct this." Okay, so let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. It can be incredibly accurate, incredibly specific, evidence-based, wonderful. But we've got to know the nature of the tool we're using. It's like any tool that we use in practice. We don't, because ultrasound can't treat every disease in the world or even diagnose every disease in the world, we don't say, well, let's not bother with ultrasound then. And we should do the same here. We should realize the limitations, realize its strengths, and use it discerningly, right? Deploy our professional expertise to decide when this is appropriate. And so what the AIs, the GPTs in particular, are designed to do is provide a very likely response. The danger comes in that it's designed to be a convincing response. And for a less informed user, it could mislead them. But hopefully by putting it in the hands of veterinary professionals who can check and sense check these things, you get to screen for anything that might be misleading. I hope that makes sense, that the ChatGPT response is designed to be convincing. Usually it's convincing because it's correct, but sometimes it can be convincing despite inaccuracies. And this is why we have not just put this into the Pet Own app and said, you know what, we can save veterinary professionals a lot of time by pre-screening through an AI system, direct contact with pet owners. The technology is not there yet. And you can imagine it only takes one pet to suffer under the consequences of this for all. Sorry, talking of AI going awry, my Siri is kicking off in the background. You can't hear it, but it's asking me. I didn't get that. Sorry. So instead of putting it in direct contact with pet owners, it would only take one pet to suffer under the consequences of that to set the veterinary professional engagement with this technology back by years. And that's what I don't want to see. I don't want us to see the limitations of the technology, which I very much acknowledge, stop us engaging with it, because we can't afford to be left behind on this stuff. If we get left behind, then that scenario where the veterinary clinic is left with all the stuff that no one else wants to do, and the direct consumer digital disruptors are serving all the good stuff, all the nice stuff, all the richest patient advocacy opportunities. I don't think that's in the best interest of our businesses. I don't think that's in the best interest of our patients, our clients, or our teams. And so we need to engage with this technology, but done safely and in the right way. And that's what we think PetsApp Copilot does. And so you shouldn't use the tool too far. So we think we should engage and we should use the tool, but let's not forget human intelligence. Let's not forget your authentic intent in this is going to be more powerful than the artificial intelligence. And here, this is why there are human tools in PetsUp to help you too. So yes, if you're stuck on what to say to a pet owner, or you're short on time, hit the sparkly button and get the AI generated response. Get PetsUp Copilot to help you. But your team's on PetsUp with you too. So don't forget, you can hand off to a team member if you're not sure. You can even hand off with the Copilot message and say, this sounds right. Do you think that's right? You can copy and paste that into the handoff note. So your team there is there to support you too. So if you don't know, you're not sure, if you're not sure the prompt is saying the right thing, you can check that. If you're on reception and you've got a question coming in, you're not sure what to say, Copilot gets you started and you're like, oh, but is that right? You can hand off to a team member and check with them. The other thing to note is in that demo, I don't know if you could notice, you could read my face, but I was slightly disappointed with the PetsUp Copilot response, because the response I got yesterday was much, much better, despite the message from the pet owner being exactly the same. And that's because these systems are non-deterministic. Doesn't matter if exactly the same context comes in, it will not give exactly the same response every time. And that's really useful, right? You can regenerate a response and see, does it do it better the next time? But if you get a response, something like an itchy dog, or or vomiting, or something like that, the kind of the questions that come in again and again and again, if you generate a response to a question that you like, save it as a template message within PetsUp. And rather than reaching for the AI every time, reaching for the Copilot every time, use your template message that you like, right? It's a nice little hack there, where you've got the best of AI, but you've got the repeatability, getting away from the non-deterministic nature of the system. And just to close with a thought here on the balance in getting this right, in deploying these tools in the right way. I wonder how many of you have heard of Pleo, because a few years ago, Pleo was set to disrupt pet care. How many of you actually own a Pleo? I would guess none. And that's despite, Pleo, you never need to take Pleo to the vet. This is a pet robotic dinosaur designed to create companionship. It can respond to you. It can feel you stroking it. It can see you. I mean, depends what you mean by feel you stroking it, right? But it can sense you stroking it. It never needs to be taken out to the toilet. It's not going to pee on your favorite rug. And like I said, it doesn't need taking to the vet. You don't even have to feed it. It just provides this unconditional companionship. And yet no one bought one. But basically no one bought one. It's a big flop, because the things that these technologists thought were bugs in the pet ownership experience were actually features. People having to get up early in the morning to let their pet out, let their dog out to the toilet. They thought, oh, no one wants to be bothered with that. They want the companionship, but they don't want to have to do that. Well, that act of care, that act gives people purpose. These are parts of the value proposition of pet ownership. And if the only way we interact with our pets are through digital video cameras and treat flickers and all these sorts of things, which can be useful tools used in the right way, then we're putting technology at the center of the experience. That's wrong. The human-animal bond is the thing that's been with us for thousands of years. That needs to remain at the center of the experience, and technology just needs to serve that. And that's our philosophy at PetsUp as to how we safely implement this technology in your practice. I know we do have some questions. Hannah, you sent us some questions. I know we're tight on time as well.
That's
I don't
okay.
know how many of you want us to take now.
That's fine. I think we could probably take just a couple just quickly, because there's some really interesting things that people have been bringing up. I think perhaps this one might be a useful one for perhaps either Tom or Will to just mention, because I think that's perhaps one of the barriers that people might have towards implementing these kind of AI generated interactions. So could you just talk a little bit about how clients feel about these type of conversations?
For sure. We had lots of great feedback from veterinary clinics, and the one that sticks in my mind is that a veterinary clinic was a little bit aggrieved by the fact that the first heart emoji response they got from a client on PetsUp was in response to a PetsUp Copilot message that had been sent, right? And so the feedback we've had from the clinics and the feedback that's come from clients, the clinics say that it helps them when they're rushed, when they've got a queue of chats they want to get to, it can help them. The clients, they don't, the idea here is that they don't notice. And actually, there's been no significant change in the customer feedback score for clinics since we introduced this. And that's because clinics were already doing an incredible job, and this just helps them do more of that incredible job. And that feedback score was already incredibly high. Clients love veterinary professionals. And if this is, and they're also very respectful of our time. And if this is one thing that just helps you get them the information they need when they need it, and lets you get on with your day and prioritize the most urgent cases, then pet owners are all for it based on the feedback we've had.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. And just one, we've got a few live questions coming in, but just one quick one that maybe should be a quick one to answer in terms of the infrastructure needed behind these kind of technologies. Do we need to have everything in the cloud for this to work? So
no, PetsApp is in the cloud, as it were. You know, it's a software that you can access from anywhere via the internet. But we work with practices with all different, we call it a tech stack, you know, all different technologies, all different softwares, and some with none, almost none. We work with clinics that are still using paper records, for example.
Wow.
And yeah, it's true. And so, no, you don't need to. We work with many server-based practice management systems. We have integrations with many server-based practice management systems. So no, everything does not need to be in the cloud for you to be able to get started with this. And I think that's really important to emphasize. This doesn't need to be a heavy lift in order to get started. This is not as intimidating as tech geeks like me and Will try to make it seem, right? So you can get started very easily.
I think that actually leads quite nicely into just one more quick question, which I'm going to assume that the answer is get in touch with you in terms of people wanting to sort of find out a bit more or find out what would be helpful. Yeah,
we would be delighted for people to go across to petsapp.co.uk, book a demo with us, or reach out to me or Will directly. Our emails are very easy to guess, except I'm Tom at petsapp.com. It's got a very unnecessary H in there, THOM. Will is just will@petsapp.com. In terms of being an ordinary practice manager, there is no such thing as an ordinary practice manager.
I was going to say.
Veterinary clinics are some of the most operationally complex businesses in the world. And there is a reason why, up there with the birth of my kids and my wedding, the day I no longer had responsibility for the practice rota was one of the happiest days of my life. Right? That is an intricate web that has to be woven there. And forget about not being able to please all the people all the time. You can't please anyone at any other time. So if you can surmount the complexities of a practice rota, let alone managing a whole veterinary practice, this stuff is easy, and we're happy to help you with it too.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tom. Will, I've put the contact details up on the screen there. So if you would like to find out any more about what Tom and Will and the PetsApp crew are doing, particularly if you want to find out about the new Copilot system, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to answer any questions. I think several of the questions that are coming in, the answer would basically be, well, get in touch. So I'm sure that Tom and Will be more than happy to answer any ongoing questions.
Very much so.
That you will have.
For sure.
So thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Tom. I know it's quite early in the morning for you, so I appreciate you getting up to come and join us. Our next microburst will be actually continuing on the theme of sort of technology. We're going to be speaking to cybersecurity experts, Mitigo, around making some cybersecurity New Year's resolutions. So making sure your practice is secure for 2024. That will be on the 9th of January. So keep an eye on our socials for that. Thanks ever so much, Tom. Will, lovely to have you. Thank you very much for packing a lot of expertise and teaching me a lot of things in 30 minutes. That's quite a skill. So thank you very, very much for that. Have a lovely Christmas, everybody. Thank you to everybody for joining us live, and we will see you in the new year.
Have a good one.
Thanks ever so much,
everyone.
Folks. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.